All right, hey gang. How's everybody doing? Appreciate everybody for being here. My one black friend, can you mute out? Just because we can't. So yeah, as y'all can see, my one black friend's child is here. Wave to the baby. Please say hi. I mean no disrespect, but we have very serious things to talk about, and I'm not going to waste any time getting into it because we only have my one black friend for a limited amount of time. So I'm not trying to be rude, but yeah, we need to go ahead and get going. All right, so this is a video that Patti made from the Apostate Sisters talking about how the atheist community is not safe for women. Let's lock in on this because what she's talking about is very important. Hang on a sec. I'm gonna try to wait for my one black friend to get back.
I can hear you. I think my wife.
Oh, you can hear. You can hear.
I can hear. Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah, please listen to Patti carefully.
This is about what happened to my sister Nancy and the response from the atheist community. Nancy's notarized letter is linked below. One of my main concerns about this is how easily the leadership at the ACA, that's the atheist community of Austin, and
I'm sorry, because people be fucking around. People be fucking around, y'all. People be fucking around and they want to act like shit is not going down. They want to act like shit is not happening. So I'm just gonna wait a minute till everybody's here, so I know people can pay attention and they can lock in. For those that don't know, the general of what's going on is my friend Nancy was thrown down the stairs, sexually assaulted and strangled by Elliot Martin, also known as Secular Rarity. And the atheist community has been covering up this sex crime and violent, felonious assault for almost a year. And there are less than 90 days until the next Nano CON. And, you know, people think this is something to play about. All right, my one black friend, we can meet out. I just wanted to make sure you're back. Please listen to this woman. Please, please, please listen to what she's saying.
This is about what happened to my sister Nancy and the response.
We can mute my one black friend because I'm going to just play the video.
From the atheist community. Nancy's notarized letter is linked below. One of my main concerns about this is how easily the leadership at the ACA, that's the atheist community of Austin, and Recovering from Religion were willing to accept the story that Nancy wanted what happened, that it was unintentional assault, or that it was kink gone wrong. Now, Nancy was always pushing against the purity culture of our youth by being loud about sexual things. At our first conference, she wore a shirt that said, "Sorry I'm late, I was masturbating." It was funny at the time, but now I see how her freedom of expression was weaponized against her. As far as I can see, community leadership and professional content creators haven't actually deconstructed the patriarchal values of the church. In fact, it serves them well. Pay attention. Within a week of the incident, I reached out to both the ACA and RFR. They are the biggest organizations in the atheism industry. The ACA had recently invited us to host a show on their channel, and Daryl Ray of RFR made sure to introduce me around at NanoCon. We were known to them before this happened. I told them what happened. The stairs. Her head on concrete. Strangulation. Twice. I also told them Secular Rarity had been having hours-long conversations with Nancy since it happened. I watched as Nancy began to doubt her own memories. At that point, Nancy wanted it all to go away. She didn't stand up for herself, as so many victims don't. And I was shocked that RFR, an organization of therapists, seemingly couldn't recognize a trauma response. At that time, I implored both organizations, please don't platform SR right now. I was still hoping for restorative justice. I tried reaching out to the Creator Accountability Network, but they just sent back a, "Sorry, we can't do anything" message. Meanwhile, the community carried on, telling and creating stories of Nancy's behavior that night. It was said she wanted to take SR back to her room, but that would have been very awkward, since me and my daughter were in there. Sure must have been fun to spread that salacious gossip, though. I didn't yet understand how far the new story had spread. That story was ready to be weaponized against Nancy when she finally told her husband what happened. His shock helped her see how serious it actually was. After weeks of having the situation downplayed by her friends, she was still trying to pretend everything was fine so she wouldn't lose her friends, so things could go back to normal. Nancy realized she should have pressed charges, and she finally did. But by then, a few people, most of them friends of SR's, had engaged her in online sexual activity. They made her feel loved, made her feel like if she spoke out, she'd lose that love. This is common in communities where violence like this happens. People sexualize the victim to stabilize their own worldview. Those connections destabilized Nancy and confused and delayed her healing. When she finally pressed charges, the new story was flipped on her. She was blamed, shamed, and ridiculed. If she's doing these sexual things now, she must have wanted it then. It was the purest form of slut-shaming. It shows a deep lack of understanding about consent in the community in general, and reveals how dangerous secular and atheist events really are. The lead investigator for these groups, Elliot Cantor, has done dozens of investigations at atheist events over the years. Dozens. That's weird. They didn't say anything about that on the flyer. It's even more concerning that the leaders of these orgs knew Nancy's story, but acted on something different. Because the ACA has continued platforming SR, and RFR has now elevated him to lead their secular leadership courses. So what does that say? It says the org simply decided Nancy's lying, or they don't see a problem with his behavior. And women watching this can see it clearly. These spaces are not safe. Not just because of one guy, but because of the subtle action and inaction that reveals something deeper. It revealed a lack of trauma-informed leadership and a culture that still thrives on hatred of women. Please take note that the women coming to these spaces come from high-control environments, cults, and churches, and they are some of the most vulnerable. They were taught to submit to authority, to stay quiet, to protect the group. Nancy and I have nothing to gain from this, and we've already lost so much. This is about stopping harm and holding a community to standards that actually keep people safe. In Nancy's letter, her final statement to this community, she asked for one thing, that secular Rarity be deplatformed. And instead, he's been elevated. So here's my ask. If you want to see the ACA and Recovering from Religion do better, please reach out to them and insist that they follow Nancy's wishes. Better yet, walk away from the toxic online atheist space. Go find a group in your local community doing the good work of feeding people, sheltering them, protecting them from ICE, or tearing down the institutions that won't do those things. Women shouldn't have to worry about violence anywhere. And yet, the spaces that claim safety the loudest are failing the most.
All right, hang on a sec. Let's keep moving. Hang on.
Okay.
Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving.
Ahead and you all can share those among yourselves. And you can see the level of commitment this person put into. This is not about my meds. Jesus fucking Christ.
This is Bre from Hiveside.
I I'm not snapping at you, Sandy. I was snapping at the person who told me to, no, told you to come get me.
The person who told you to come get me. This is our former friend, Bre, playing with a gun on YouTube, thinking about ending it all. Thinking about ending it all because of the coercive campaign she's been under for months to not talk about what she knows or what she thinks in relation to NanoCon. And as she's on YouTube playing with a gun, people are literally turning the stream off because she's trying to tell this audience a story they did not know that she would live to tell. I need people to think about that. She's trying to tell us a story about a coercive cover-up. She is so in distress over revealing the depth of the cover-up that she's playing with a gun on YouTube, pointing it at her face. People are turning it off because they literally do not know if she is going to survive this broadcast trying to tell the atheist community what has been going on. And as she is doing it, those same people are sending people after her to coerce her in that moment into not telling her story, into not saying things they didn't want her to say. And then as soon as it was over, the thing is privated so that they could make it disappear, so that, again, the coercive efforts to keep her from talking. And now she is back on throwing me, PC, and the whistleblower crew all the way under the bus because they have continued to have coercive control over this young person, even as the community have seen it bring her to this point.
Because that's one of the people that's bullying me currently. That's like literally reaching out to my loved ones and telling them to warn me that I'm gonna lose all my friends if I don't comply and change my story.
Reaching out to my loved ones and telling them I'm going to lose all my friends if I don't do what they want me to do. Does that sound legal to y'all?
And again, Titan, you didn't. I sent them to Maya. The
Titan Uranus. Everybody loves Titan Uranus. This is Titan Uranus playing a lead role in these coercive smear campaigns that have been going on. And Maya, who allegedly loves Bre so much, but again, Maya Atkinson, they blocked Bre, left her server or whatever. And now later tonight, Maya Atkinson is going to be doing a stream with Elliot Cantor, the internal investigator on the board of NanoCon, talking about conference safety, because again, all these people are gaslighting you and playing in your face.
days and days and days of attempted coercion to get me to change my stories to try.
Days and days and days and days of attempted coercion trying to get me to change my story. Why aren't y'all paying attention?
To convince me to change my stories. The hundreds of the paragraphs. How many? It was at least 36 full screenshots on my phone of
36 full screenshots.
Someone spending that much dedication to try to coerce me into changing my story.
Efforts to coerce me into trying to get me to change my story. She is telling you on air about the crimes that are being committed against her. Oh, are there damages? I don't know. Do you consider it damages to your life when you're on the fucking internet about to blow your head off with a goddamn pistol? Sorry for the explicit language, but y'all acting like y'all don't really give a fuck that all this is going on.
Okay. So, just because you saw a little screenshot of someone saying something innocuous does not mean that you know. No, this person dedicated serious time to trying to coerce me. You know what, Maya? I give you permission to share those screenshots with Titan since you all both blocked me.
And I hate to say it, they done such a number on Bre that she don't realize that the same people who have been leading this coercive campaign against her and managing her, she's literally trying to reach out to for support in this moment, because this community is so twisted that literally people like Bre who are vulnerable, I'm just gonna say psychologically vulnerable. I'm gonna just put it to you like that. If you need to figure out more information, guess you need to figure out more information. But these vulnerable people who are being manipulated by these disordered personalities and these coercive conspiracies, and they can't even realize that the people that are coercing them or managing them on behalf of other coercive influences, they still think them the people that are their friends, and then they're like telling other people, hey, you guys spread the evidence amongst yourselves and share information to help you coordinate your coercive conspiratorial campaign of silence against me. Like, because again, the levels and depth of the manipulation going on in this secular humanism atheist space is that fucking deep.
Go ahead and you all can share those among yourselves. And you can see the level of commitment this person put in.
She's so fucked up that she's trying to get people who are coercing her to exchange information about her coercion amongst themselves so that she can prove to who she believes are still solely who she mistakenly perceives as still being her allies in all of this, so that they can pass information back and forth to prove that the person who's coordinating all of this is actually doing this to this person. And she thinks that this person's underlings, because this person is AJ Ruley, and the big boss queen of it all is Casey Gleason and John Gleason, Godfather engineer. But she thinks that having Maya and Titan, who are basically working in concert with AJ to coerce her, having Maya and Titan trade evidence back and forth about AJ's coercion is going to convince them that AJ's coercing her, and then they're going to take her side, not realizing that Maya and Titan have been being used by AJ and Casey and others to manipulate her and control her from day fucking one. And in reality, the reason Maya and Titan dipped from her server is because she's about to spill the beans on the whole thing, and they're actually mad at her. So they are literally trying to coerce her as AJ summons other people to dogpile and add to the pylon of coercion while she is playing with a gun on YouTube, and her audience turns it off because they think she about to kill herself. They are actively dogpiling her and bullying her as she's playing with said gun on YouTube. I don't know what it's going to take for y'all people to wake the fuck up.
To trying to get me to change my mind. Trying to get me to change my story. To protect somebody else's reputation. There was serious commitment put into that. So don't just say, oh, you asked for an opinion and they gave it to you. No, they committed serious time and paragraphs to trying to convince me otherwise. So no, it's not like that. So don't present it that way.
Yeah, and she's saying y'all should be reading the chat, because if you read the chat, they all in here doing their coercive shit. All doing their coercive shit.
Titan, when you tell me not to respond to you at all, I'm not going to violate that consent. I'm not. You've blocked me. I'm not allowed to message you.
But yeah, y'all should go back. This whole video is in the description, so go watch it. And when you watching it, watch all these flying monkeys in the chat.
You clicked a button or not. I'm not. When you tell me stop messaging me, I'm going to stop messaging you. So, yeah. So.
We're pissed off about it too, John, even though Bre's blaming us.
Oh, this is the opposite of that. Well, I know that this is that me coming forward about this is not what any of you guys want. I understand
Me
that.
coming forward is not what any of you guys want. She's not talking to us. She's not talking to me and PC and Patti and Kyle and Sumami and Trees. She's talking about the other side. She's talking about all these flying monkeys. She's talking about Maya and Titan and misinterpretations and the Java and Drugs crew and the organizations that are trying to get these people to coordinate and keep this whole smear campaign under wraps.
I understand that me coming out about this is not what you want. That was the whole point of everybody jumping on me, because I wanted to come out about this. Because I wanted to tell the truth. And I was being stopped from telling the truth. You all have been stopping me from telling the truth for months. Saying, don't talk about this, don't engage with this. But it's my life that's on the fucking fence here. It's me that is taking the fucking hit.
Now, for those that can't make the connection too, it's like, because you probably don't know, but it's like Bre is the person why most of the people in the community know this is happening. Bre was the one running around telling everybody there's a rumor something happened at Nano CON. There's a story going around, but the story isn't true. So let's be clear. Bre wanted them flying monkeys. Absolutely wanted the flying monkeys, and our friend group wouldn't have known about this if it wasn't for Bre, and most other people out here wouldn't have known if it wasn't for Bre. But now you should be able to. Did you want to say something about Frank? Because we're getting a lot of
I
noise.
do. You finish your thought and then I'll jump in.
People need to make the connection that Bre is one of the source. I would call a source flying monkey. What I mean by source flying monkey is she's the flying monkey who was representing the abuser's story, who most people heard about this from. So she was their literal source and touch point to even understand that this whole situation was even happening. And now here she is again, months and months later, playing with the gun on YouTube, telling the people they didn't want me to tell y'all the truth from the beginning. They didn't want me to let y'all know what I know. They didn't want me to come out and really, really talk about this. So now she's put them two pieces together. Bre was running around and telling everybody the story, and now Bre is telling you the story I've had to tell people is not the true story. The story I had to tell people, the thing I ran around telling everybody, oh, this was a bunch of BS and it didn't really happen. That wasn't really my story. That wasn't really what I know. That wasn't really what I experienced. That is what I was coerced into telling everybody. And now I'm trying to come out and set the record straight. And she still doesn't ever come out and really say what happened. She doesn't ever come out and really say what Elliot did. She doesn't really ever come out and say about what happened to Nancy. And the reason why, because again, she was still being actively coerced and manipulated by these people in real time, and continues to be coerced and manipulated by these people until today, which is why, again, she's not on this mental health crisis tip. She's feeling more stable at the moment, but at the same time, she's right back to blaming this all on me and PC. Why would she be blaming this on our group when we're the ones who are just trying to bring the story forward as the whistleblowers? And in reality, she now is saying in public that she agrees with us and that this needs to be talked about and the truth needs to come out. Why would she be throwing us under the bus again, even after this? Because again, she's back under the control and influence of these same coercive people. Go ahead, my one black friend.
Sure. One thing to keep in mind is when you're in the middle, how things change for you. As a person who is in the middle of an argument where there are two opposing sides with two opposing sets of facts, there are going to be times where literally it's a bit of a seesaw. A little more information here makes this person over here a little less believable. A little more information here makes these folks over here a little less believable. So there may be times where you get confused and you don't know what to think. If you were never there, you possibly can't get all the facts. If you watched video, like that was live video, that's your best bet. And if you can interpret it all, then you're lucky, because there's people, that's their job to interpret what they see in video and find all these little points of interest within that video in order to come up with the official story for what is being seen, to point things out to a jury or to an audience, that sort of thing. Being in the middle is difficult. I'm not familiar with Bre other than the last 2 episodes, Pocket Lock, or this one and the previous one that you and I have done. I've not listened to her streams. I don't recognize her voice beyond, last week. I think it's important for us all to remember that abuse is never okay. And you do have to treat the abuser, and I think I'm parroting Uncle Bobby with this, like they've been abused. Like you have to approach them that way. You can't be so dismissive of their accounts. You have to take them seriously. As for the people throwing NanoCon, I can't imagine the logic behind continuing to promote secular rarity in light of these accusations, right? I can't see why it was important to them to, and the ACA, to continue to highlight him. It's the ACA, right? For secular
It's
rarity?
a lot of organizations, really.
Okay.
To be honest with you, what Patti was doing in that video was trying to address sort of some of the larger culprits, and also I think an extension of some of the communication she's been having behind scenes. So I say that to say that she mentioned the atheist community of Austin and recovering from religion in specifically in her video. But she and I are both aware of and have evidence documenting much broader failure of organizations, content creators, and channels within this atheist space. So she kind of hit on 2 of them. When it's all said and done, the net we're casting is far wider and broader than just those 2 organizations.
Okay. Failure is a good word.
Yeah, and it includes, it's everybody. It's The Line, it's the Secular Therapy Project, it's Black Non-Believers, it's the Rocket City Conference, it's a history of these type of things at other conferences, it's other nonprofits that are even associated with like different secular student groups and all these different American humanist groups. I'm gonna be honest with you, I just found out about this. We're gonna cover this coming up on the channel, but people don't even know about this. Madeline Murray O'Hare, her son, John Garth Murray, and granddaughter, Robin Murray O'Hare, were murdered in September of 1995 by David Roland Waters, a disgruntled former employee of her organization, the American Atheist. So I'm going to cover this more, but what's so interesting is I've been talking about how secular humanism and atheism is really just recapitulating capitalism, patriarchy, and white supremacy under the guise of atheism rather than under Christianity. So basically, the way Christianity was used to uphold patriarchy, capitalism, and white supremacy, atheism is the same thing, but people don't recognize it because they assume not being Christian means you're not part of the social problems. But what really actually happens is atheism and secular humanism is used as a way to sidestep meaningful social reform and actual like intersectional issues, again, like patriarchy, capitalism, and white supremacy, and then pretend that atheism is the solution to those things when really it doesn't even address those things. And then what these people have done is to try to professionalize atheism in the same way people have professionalized Christianity, so that you will mistake giving time, energy, resources, and professional legitimacy to atheists as a new, basically secular priestly class. I know I'm sounding like a religious apologist, but they're right. That you're trying to erect a new priestly class on behalf of atheism. So what's really interesting about this case is you can see all of that here. You can see that in 1995, this woman who was a leader for the American Atheist was murdered, but she wasn't murdered by some crazy radical religious person. She wasn't murdered by some KKK member. She was literally murdered by a disgruntled former employee. So she was, so again, this was a murder inside the atheist movement, and her body wasn't discovered until like 2001, 6 years later. So but what's interesting is when you look into her history, she was a Holocaust denier. So see how you can trace to 1995 or much earlier, before all this internet shit, in the atheist quote unquote space and community, and it was really a haven for Holocaust deniers at the time. But even such, there was a murder of a woman who in a leadership position in one of these organizations, and her body wasn't found until 6 years later. So it's crazy that, again, nobody wants to talk about these things. Nobody wants to be for real about this. But my one black friend, real quick, you brought up something that I think is very important. And I'm going to say this as kind and respectfully as I can, because it's not really about you. It's about the bigger picture. You are not a part of this community. You are a content creator. You host a show with me on Sundays. From Sunday to Sunday, you're not tuned in. You might watch some secular or atheist content. You might watch some content creators. You might check out shit we do on the channel from time to time, but I don't even think you watch the channel on a regular basis. Now, I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm saying that because people need to get real. I made a whole stream called Content is Not Community. People need to stop mistaking content creators for people who are active in your community. If you can't reach out and touch somebody, you're not in community with them. If you can't email them, you're not in community with them. If you're in a Discord server related to their channel and they're not in that Discord server, or they're not active in that Discord server, and you can't just jump in. My students can direct message me on Discord. That's the difference. When my students are in a class server with me, if a student wants to say, hey, Dr. Bundy, I have a question, they could just hit me with the direct DM on Discord. They could shoot me an email on their course management system. They have access to me. You cannot be in community with somebody you do not have access to. So you need to understand the difference between me, somebody who's out here in the YouTube streets. I'm paying attention to different channels. I'm watching different live streams. I'm watching different videos. I'm in people's live chats. I'm in people's comment sections. I'm in Discord. I'm in conversations with my mods. I'm paying attention to what's going on in the streets in this community. I know who the faces are. I know who the organizations are. I know who the players are. Now, we host this show together, but you have to understand the difference between the depth of participation I have with this community and the reality that my one black friend has a job, a family, a life, all these other things going on. He likes doing the show, but you can't expect him to have his ear to the ground the same way you can expect me to, at least
I don't have the time
through my history on this channel of having my ear to the ground like that. Now, that really is pretty obvious for people who watch Hot Program. But the mistake that people are making is they're treating Matt Dillahunty like he's like me. Like, you're treating Matt Dillahunty like he knows all the things that are going on. You're treating Jimmy Snow, and you're treating Seth Andrews. You're treating Holy Kool-Aid and Rationality Rules and Genetically Modified Skeptic and Alex O'Connor and Brandon from Mindshift and Monte Mater and Life Take Two. You're treating all these people who are just professional content creators. They're just professional content creators. They don't know nothing about you. They don't know nothing about your friends. They don't really care who's dying. They don't really care who's getting thrown down the stairs. And you're acting like they are community heroes. Now, the interesting irony is the flying monkeys, a lot of them are the big time at the upper level. But if you look at the ones doing the dirty work, they are community content creators. So what you have to see now is that the professional content creators, the professional class, the people who do this for a living, and the organizations that need to get paid off this stuff or host these events, what they're doing, because this is how organized crime works, people are not realizing yet, This is organized crime. Do the bosses and the capos, do those people do the dirty work in an organized crime situation? No. They have underlings that do the dirty work. They have people lower on the food chain that do the dirty work. So that's why your skeptic havens are doing a lot of this foolishness. That's why they have the NanoCon channel doing a lot of this foolishness. Because for a lot of the bigger channels and the higher ups, they don't want to get involved in all that foolishness. So they're going to let their version of community content creators handle the riffraff. And notice how AJ and Maya and all these flying monkey people, they're paying attention to all our streams. They're blowing people up just for being in our live chats. They're blowing Filbert up for doing live streams about it. They're blowing Michael Beverly up for being friends with me. They're right. So they understand the difference between the big time professional content creators and organizations that need to be shielded from doing the dirty work, and they're allowing their version of the community content creators to run around doing all the coercive control necessary to maintain either A, the silence, you make sure people don't talk about NanoCon, and if you can't stop people from talking about NanoCon, option B is make sure they're carrying forth the flying monkey story, the bullshit story about how Nancy and Patti are lying and all this type of stuff. So I'm not saying that to insult my one black friend. I'm saying that because the audience needs to recognize there is a big difference. Now, again, this shows Arden Hart. Arden Hart is not a dark romance author. Apparently, we got that wrong. We thought this was the same Arden Hart. This is not the same Arden Hart. Once again, for like the sixth time, Arden Hart is not a dark romance author. Arden Hart is also not an OnlyFans girl. This is Arden Hart on OnlyFans, but Arden Hart is no longer an OnlyFans model. She used to be. As you can see, that page is no longer available. But here's some things you need to see. Here's Bre talking about Dr. Ben, student Dr. Ben, and Arden Hart, not student doctor, regular Dr. Ben. Ben and I talked, let me just put it to you like this. Ben and Elliot are basically best friends. So the reason Dr. Ben is a fucking coward and a spineless, softest baby shit coward is because him and Elliot Martin are good buddies. And he inserted himself into this situation, but now he doesn't want to talk about it because, again, he's soft as baby shit. Ben and I talked that night before any accusations at all came forward. He told me that Elliot and Nancy were super wasted, making out and heavy petting in the common area and making everyone uncomfortable. So they got up to go to the room, and Elliot talked to Ben about whether it was a good idea or not. Ben told him it was not. That is Dr. Ben telling Elliot before it happens, hey, I don't know what you and Nancy about to get into, but it's really not a good idea and you shouldn't. But notice he did not intervene. Ben told him it was not before they left together. Now I'm fully willing to believe Ben on this. Arden, that's Arden Hart, told me the same thing. Here's AJ Ruley. Notice how AJ Ruley is tagging Casey Gleason because that's her overlord. That's the underboss that she is under. So AJ has to say, Casey, hey Casey, look, I'm clocking in, I'm doing my work. And then she also tags Drew Beckius because Drew Beckius is the husband of Stacy, and Stacy from Stacy's Mom podcast is the person who found Nancy. So Drew dropped the link on his Facebook about the stream we did exposing all of this. And all these people, all these messages are coming from Drew Beckius's Facebook thread. Some of you will recognize the styling of these messages, that they are screenshots from Facebook, because this is all these people going to Drew Beckius's Facebook thread, dogpiling the victim. Now ask yourself some very simple, straightforward questions. Did I just say that this is all happening on Drew Beckius's Facebook page? Yes, I did. Did I just say that all these people, there was over 160 messages in this thread? Did I just say that all of these people are dogpiling the victim on Drew Beckius's Facebook page? Yes, I did. Did I also say that Drew Beckius is the husband of the person that found the victim after the assault? Yes, I did. So then you're like, well, Jay, if I put those things together and I connect the dots, you're telling me that the husband of the woman that found the victim is now allowing same said victim to be dogpiled and slut-shamed in their Facebook thread. Now, I don't know how y'all operate, but if I was married to somebody and my wife said that one of her friends was thrown down the stairs, sexually assaulted and strangled at an atheist YouTube conference. And then some whistleblowers came forward and said to the atheist community, y'all need to know about this shit and do something about this shit. And then I dropped a link on that to my Facebook thread saying, hey, y'all, some fucked up shit happened at NanoCon and we should talk about it. And then motherfuckers dogpiled same said victim that my wife found. Oh, hell to the no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no. Hell no. To the no, no, no. I would be shutting that shit down on my Facebook page so quick, fast, and in a hurry, you would think I was an Olympic sprinter. Now, why would Bre Breaks allow all this victim blaming to happen on his Facebook thread if his wife is the one that found the victim? I'm gonna tell you the answer. The answer is because Godfather engineer John Gleason, godless engineer, Godfather engineer, and Casey Gleason, according to the word on the street, have Bre Breaks and Stacy's careers in the palm of their hand. And since Casey Gleason and her husband, Godfather engineer John Gleason, are trying to be the latest, greatest mob bosses, and they're on the line, and they're getting the rub of organizing the next big payoff, which is Rocket City Reason. They're trying to make sure all of this stays under wraps. So what I'm trying to show you is the mob structure is right in your face. You literally have AJ Ruley tagging Casey Gleason, the boss's bride, saying, hey, first lady of the secular syndicate, and Bre Breaks, the person who we know is under your control, I want y'all to pay attention and make sure y'all are tuning into this message. And then what she says is, I also want to add that Nancy's original statement says she gave no consent and that Elliot dragged her outside forcefully, and it all happened there at once. Evidence does not indicate that. She initiated the advances. People witnessed her kissing him publicly and very visibly at times against his will. The same witnesses saw them walking outside willingly, come back in fixing themselves, go back to the bar, and then continue the PDA and attempting to head to Nancy's room via the stairs. Now, mind you, attempting to head to Nancy's room via the stairs. What did Patti say in her video? Why are people saying that she was going to bring him to our room so they could fuck when I was staying in the room with my daughter? So they're literally telling you that. So they're literally telling you, nah, she was trying to take Elliot to her bedroom so she could have sex in front of her sister and her sister's daughter. And motherfuckers in the YouTube atheist space are like, sounds good to me. Makes perfect sense
ridiculous.
To me.
That's ridiculous. Right. Anybody who picks up that opinion.
Yeah, and then here she is summoning those personalities. Here she is summoning Arden Hart, summoning Dr. Ben, and summoning Glenda Jordan, and saying, hey, Arden, hey, Ben, hey, Glenda, wasn't it one of you who testified? Oh, testified to who? Wasn't it one of you that testified? Testified to who? That said that Nancy said she wanted to take Elliot to her room? Literally saying, Arden, Ben, Glenda, ain't it y'all leading this rumor that she wanted to take Elliot to her room? I don't want to give the wrong info here. So her claim that she had not given consent is questionable here. I'm not questioning whether she withdrew it. By the way, she has the right to withdraw consent at any time. And don't forget now, if you watch the video with Bre's going to tell you, I don't want to go along with the story. What story? And then she'll tell you, AJ wrote the story. AJ scripted it out. I didn't want to go along with what AJ had to say. I don't agree with AJ's story. I don't agree with what AJ is telling everybody to say. So again, Bre almost blew her brains out trying to tell you, I'm not here for AJ's bullshit. And then here comes Glenda responding to being summoned. Let's make the connection for the people. People are not making the connections yet. There you have her. There's Glenda Jordan, one of the featured speakers at NanoCon. There's her mother, Gail Jordan, Also, one of the key speakers at NanoCon, Gail
Excuse me, Pocket
Jordan.
Locker.
Yeah.
Have you reached out to the organizers of NanoCon
No, I would never
to,
do such a thing.
to get
I would
their
never
thoughts on
do
this?
such a thing. I would never do such a thing. I would
That
never
sounds
do
like
such a
sarcasm,
thing.
Pocket Locker. Were they unresponsive,
I would
or
never.
you really have never done that?
I would never do such a thing.
Okay.
I would never do such a thing. They are clearly a corrupt, criminal, dangerous organization. And I think drawing them in and asking for their participation when their cover up has been so obvious. What I do have is a record of Patti contacting them. Patti talked about this. Yes, she contacted the organizers. We have emails documenting them being contacted. But what part of what this community has to stop doing is stop assuming the good faith of these organizations. When you see one of your friends almost die, no, I'm not. I don't need to speak to these people. I know what they did. I don't ask criminals for their defense. They should call lawyers for their defense. Their board members should be worried about their defense. Their leadership should be worried about their defense. I'm trying to burn their shit to the ground. I'm not going to call them and ask for their permission. I'm not going to call them and ask for their permission. I'm not going to ask them for their fucking excuses. I know you weren't trying to do that. I'm just telling you so for real how I feel about it. It's just it's not even a thing I would consider doing. It's like saying, well, have you called Jeffrey Epstein's estate and asked them for comment? Like, no, I haven't. Don't plan to. I have not and don't plan to. All right, but here's what you got. So on the NanoCon page, here's NanoCon with AJ Ruley, queen of the cover-up, the one who wrote the story that almost had Bre kill herself, and Elliot Cantor, the guy who's Patti from the Apostate Sisters just told you fumbled the investigation and has fumbled dozens of investigations, who this year will sit on the board at NanoCon, and then said he's going to have one of his other buddies be hired to do the external investigation to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest. Not to avoid a conflict of interest, but to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest. On this broadcast, he says it on this broadcast in public on YouTube. And this is the internal investigator, who again is in a long-term relationship with, oh wait, hang on. I didn't show you. I didn't change screens. Okay. So this is AJ sitting down with Elliot Cantor on the NanoCon channel. AJ, who wrote the story, Elliot Cantor, who fumbled this and dozens of other investigations, talking about conference safety. NanoCon conference safety organizer Elliot Cantor answers community concerns. Then be so for real. That is the same Elliot Cantor, again, that is in a long-term relationship with this Gail Jordan, the mother of this same Glenda Jordan. Another featured speaker at this year's NanoCon, AJ Ruley. We could just keep going. Let's go. Let's stay here at the NanoCon tab. Let's go to NanoCon's post. NanoCon is back. Now they're advertising. Come see Glenda Jordan. When Glenda Jordan's Southern Baptist upbringing met feminism and atheism, it was game over. She's a farm-raised artist, coded white supremacy. Just gonna say it. Fierce feminist and full-time patriarchy rebel who now blends sex positivity, activism, and creative expression into a lifestyle that would absolutely get her side-eyed at the Sunday potluck. Glenda is a sci-fi nerd and kink-friendly, deviant sex educator who is living proof that deconstruction can come with better outfits and way better hobbies. Now, interesting, when you look up deviant sex educator, yeah, you get reports of crimes. You get reports of crimes when you type in deviant sex educator. Well, let's type in what is a deviant sex educator. A deviant sex educator is not a standard professional title, but rather a term that can be understood through the lens of sociology and sexology as someone who educates or advocates for sexual behaviors that fall outside the mainstream societal norms or dominant sexual scripts. So what that is in this community is it is again what we call the KKK, the kink cult crew, and they're all about consensual non-consent and polyamory and partner swapping and all this type of shit. But the point that the community needs to understand, can you mute my one black friend? Sorry, I was just getting a lot of noise. Is they're playing in your face. They're playing in your face. They literally think it's good to go, ha ha, funny, sexy time at NanoCon. Come join us for some deviant sex education. Like, bitch, y'all was accused of someone was thrown down the stairs, sexually assaulted and strangled. And y'all think it's cute to play in our face talking about deviant sex educators while the people that lead the smear campaign against this woman, you have on your channel talking about conference safety with the guy who fumbled the internal investigation. Y'all just have to get so for real about these people. They don't care. This is wanton. And then again, we have fucking Faris Valkai's useless ass. Again, more people from the line continuing to promote and platform NanoCon. Here's Monte Mater. Here's Monte Mater, the queen of the goon bait Bible study herself, Monte Mater. Here's Matt Dillahunty. Remember last week we showed you Matt Dillahunty erasing clips about NanoCon, calling it all a big joke, calling it community drama, but then having to erase the comment, then having to edit that clip out of their New Year's Eve broadcast. Then Stephanie Helms called out the bad behavior of Arden Ben and other people at the line. He left Stephanie Helms an insulting comment on her channel, which we took a screenshot of, and then he went back and deleted that comment. Because again, your big heroes that you think are part of this community are not part of this community. They're professional content creators, and they don't give a fuck what happens to your friends. Matt Dillahunty knew about all this and then signed up to be the lead speaker at NanoCon. And is now running around insulting smaller, actual community-based content creators because they had the audacity to point up a mirror and show him his partner's bad behavior. And he decided to, out of spite, that he was going to make sure he added his name to the featured speakers list to make this the biggest, baddest, sexiest NanoCon ever. Then you got your girl Maya Atkinson over here on Bad Science Sunday. And what are we talking Bad Science Sunday? Usually we talking about some useless bullshit, which is why I can't even stomach trying to watch this show. But coming up, we're going to sit down with community safety. So we got a community safety NanoCon 2026 Q&A again with the king of the cover-up. The guy who fumbled the internal investigation, Elliot Cantor, and the queen of the cover-up, AJ Ruley, on Maya Atkinson's channel. And then we're going to follow it up with community safety, talking about the ARC encounter instead of NanoCon, once again with AJ Ruley and Joe, the Kentucky Atheist. So again, Maya is so off the fucking deep end, while this alleged fraud, Dr. What the fuck is his name? Dr. Tapioca Weasel, who allegedly wants to be some kind of scholar. But I could tell you, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, you're not qualified to be a faculty member if you do not understand the level of coercive control and covering up of sex crimes going on by the person leading your channel, who, by the way, makes you her bitch. Just giving you feedback of your regular viewers. I don't watch your boring ass bullshit. Now let's head over to the Skeptic Haven channel, see what the fuck Skeptic Haven has been up to with all of this going on. Oh, look, here's Ember, also one of the flying monkeys, with Godfather Engineer, the mob boss in all of this that apparently people are so afraid of because he has their careers in the palm of their hands, leading all this coercive cover-up. Here he is on Skeptic Haven, Gods Don't Science, talking with Ember, again, another flying monkey. I'm doing this shit in real time. I'm just clicking around their page. Here's Drew and Stacy. Again, Drew and Stacy that found the victims found the victim, won't say shit about it, doing a stream about who really protects women. Who really protects women from the people who found her, but have said nothing about what they experienced, and then let everybody dogpile the victims on their Facebook thread while they are advertised as the hottest couple at NanoCon, doing secular sexual comedy, talking all about their sex life. Come on, y'all got to see these people playing in your face. It gets worse.
Excuse me,
Gets,
Pocket Locker.
yeah.
Everyone, I'm sorry. I need to go.
All right, hang on. Before
And,
you go, check out this. Charm alarms. They advertise charm alarms. Hey, ladies, fuck all that external oversight bullshit. Grab you one of these charm alarms to throw on your purse. And if you're worried about getting sexually assaulted at NanoCon, don't worry about it, girl. Just grab you a charm alarm and be good to go. So they're pushing product down people's throat. They're playing in people's faces. People need to wake up and realize this is happening. Thanks, my one black friend. I'm going to go through a few more things before I end the broadcast. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you all. Have a good day, Pocket Locker. I'll talk to you
Thank
later.
you. Thank you. So y'all gotta start getting so for real about what's going on. So here's Glenda Jordan, sexy fire dancer lady. I feel compelled to share my thoughts. I sincerely hope you remain open and receptive, as this is obviously a charged situation. I don't even know where to start with that YouTube video, from the violent threats to the constant misogynistic slurs. It was difficult to get through. Again, the flying monkeys who are responding to being called the flying monkeys are mad that a video about how they're flying monkeys sticking up for the assailant, about how they got cursed all the way the fuck out by the women in the community who ain't playing that shit. But now they're the victims because they got cursed the fuck out. I'll start with Patti's claim that Nancy was just flirty. That's not what I personally witnessed. I genuinely almost got up from my table outside to intervene on behalf of SR because she was so aggressive and handsy with him, and he was turning his head to avoid French kissing. Later, they left together, hand in hand, every indicator of going to enjoy a consensual experience together. And I even texted a friend at the time to that effect, noting relief that it seemed mutual and not just Nancy pursuing one-sidedly. All right, I just made a real-time production decision, but I'm gonna just go through this real quick, and there's a reason. So this Glenda responding, then what's after this? I don't even know where I'm at in this damn thing. Oh, here we go. All right, then we have Arden responding, Ben responding. Here's John Gleason coming in the dog pile. Here's John Gleason emailing me. And then here's all these people. Here's D showing up, never spoke out publicly, but came in here to the dog piling, said this is setting women back decades, but then had to edit it later and come back and say, I will never speak publicly about this again. And you have to ask yourself, why did Drew, Stacy, and D never speak publicly about what they experienced at NanoCon? And then you have, here's Ember claiming there's video evidence it didn't happen. Here's messages everybody's sending around by KC saying that it didn't happen. More misinterpretations. Marin telling us there's video evidence that it didn't happen. AJ Ruley saying there's video evidence that it didn't happen. And then AJ Ruley confessing that she does not even know if that video evidence exists. Nobody's asking to see a video for it to be made publicly. We're asking whether there were cameras in the stairwell to determine if the police closed the case based on concrete evidence. And then here we have Nancy telling Patti there wasn't enough evidence along with too many conflicting stories. The sheriff said all they had was video from the bar where apparently I was just all over him, making it look very bad in my favor. In other words, even the police resorted to victim shaming and leaning into the flying monkey response. They sabotaged the investigation and then used the sabotaged investigation to further their victim blaming. Now, if you want to go over these things in a little bit more detail, I think we'll do that probably today at 3 o'clock on the Blackout with Uncle Bobby. We're going to be talking about why you need to learn how to fight, and women, the value of self-defense for women at 3 p.m. Eastern. So a little under an hour on my end. But I also want to go through some more of these receipts for him because I don't think he's seen these things. So yeah, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Hopefully this has been helpful for people who are still trying to put this together. At the end of the day, I got to be honest with y'all. It's really not that complicated. It's really not that complicated. At the end of the day, it's like this here. Something happened in that motherfucking stairwell. Something happened in that motherfucking stairwell. Something happened in that motherfucking stairwell. There were only two people, as far as we know, in that stairwell. Nancy, the victim, Elliot, the Strangler Martin, Elliot, the Tennessee Strangler Martin. And she was allegedly thrown down the stairs, strangled, and sexually assaulted. Apparently, at the time, he said, believe her. To date, only one of them has come forward with any sort of testimony. Nancy. Nancy wrote a 10-page notarized letter. A 10-page notarized letter. A 10-page notarized letter documenting her account as the only relevant witness. So, in the absence of a statement on SR's side denying things, which again, apparently he said, the only thing he said about all this is believe her. We have her notarized testimony. That is what happened. Everything else is a bunch of smear campaigns talking about a bunch of bullshit that has nothing to do with what happened in that stairwell. So everybody acting like they can't figure out what's going on. They don't see what's happening. They don't know, like weaponized incompetence. You don't know because you don't want to know. And you don't want to know because you don't care. You don't want to know because if you knew, you'd have to recognize how fucked up this shit. You'd have to admit that we've been right the whole time. You'd have to admit that there has been a community failure. You'd have to admit that these popular content creators and these powerful secular organizations have all been involved in a conspiratorial cover-up. You'd have to admit that there's been a coercive campaign to silence the whistleblowers, and that is also illegal. You'd have to admit that you have been participating in a community that is doing organized crime. You'd have to admit you are in a community that has been doing organized crime. You would have to admit you are in a community that has been doing organized crime. We'll see you next time.